reading this on behalf of Sarah Schweigert and her family, who couldn't be here due to certain circumstances. Hello, impressive high school students. Before I even introduce myself, I want to extend my heartfelt gratitude. I know many of you could have chosen 100 other places to be right now, but instead, you are here supporting a cause that's bigger than many of you might realize. For that, I am forever grateful. I am Sarah, often known as a cancer mom. It's a title I both hate and am immensely proud of. You might wonder, proud, how can you be proud? Well, I am proud because my son was a fighter and won. I am proud of all the research my husband and I did on our own to find treatments available for our son and how we fought to get him on them. Even when we were turned away from some, we kept fighting. I am proud of the doctors who fight every day for a cure, many of whom we now call friends. I am proud of the nurses who treated my son as one of their own, giving him the best care possible and who we now also call our friends. I am incredibly proud of the parents who never gave up even after losing their child to this horrible disease and who continue to fight for a cure when the rest of the world didn't and still hasn't. I am proud of the friends I met along the way. I am so proud of my son's friends that he met along the way for their valiant fight, even though most of them did not make it. I am so proud of my daughter, who put on a brave face for her brother, standing by his side every step of the way, despite her fears. She, of all people, had the right to be so angry, yet she wasn't. She had every right to be mad at him and mad at us for being apart for most of her younger years. But she never did anything but smile and be there for him. Still to this day, they are the best friends and stayed together through every up and down life throws at them. She is his biggest advocate and his biggest protector in life. Seeing them together today brings happy tears to my eyes and melts my mama heart. I am also proud of our friends and family who cared for us, prayed for us, and helped us in our fight. Now on to the reason I am here. My son fought stage 4 neuroblastoma, a cancer of the nervous system. No one really knows how kids get it. Most kids develop it by the age of 1. It is rare. Only about 800 kids a year are diagnosed with it in the US. Yes, you heard that right, 800 kids. The survival rate at that time was around 30% in 2013. There is no definitive cure still to this day. Relapse is high, especially in high-risk kids. High risk means the cancer has spread, you are older than most kids at diagnosis, and you have a certain gene that makes it amplified. Trevor did not have the gene, but he was older, and by the time he caught it, the cancer had literally spread to most of his body. I emphasize at the time because it's an important phrase, and I will come back to that in a minute. When we discovered it, it was at the end of a magical day. Trevor had just turned 4, and his birthday party was one for the books. A dream come true for a 4-year-old. The party was at a huge bounce house with slides and climbing structures. All of his friends and some of his sister's friends were there, and they had an absolute blast. I still see it vividly in my mind. I often wonder how we didn't know that a beast was living inside of his body. At that time, I felt I had the whole world. I was a mom of 2, a boy and a girl, both healthy. I stayed at home to care for them. My husband had a great job with amazing health care, which later turned out to be a godsend. We had it all. The next night, while giving Trevor a bath to get ready for school the next day, I found a large lump on his neck. I thought maybe he had hurt himself at the party or school the prior week. It was a Sunday night, and my husband had left for New York City for work. At the time, he traveled a lot. I texted Trevor's high school or preschool teacher to ask if anything had happened at school, and she said no. I then texted my husband. He said, "Do not do a Google search. Just take him to the doctor tomorrow." I found this odd. I started to do one and shut my computer immediately. I understood why he had said that. It just so happened that Trevor had his 4-year-old checkup the next day. That appointment led to concerning blood work that evening, which led us to a hematology appointment the next morning, followed by ultrasound that evening. Trevor was immediately admitted to the hospital Tuesday night and IV put in at midnight. That was when they said that we had to have it done because I knew it was going to be traumatic for all of us, and it was. And that was when our nightmare began. Confirmation of neuroblastoma on Thursday, port placement on Thursday, paperwork for treatment signed on Thursday. Treatment began a week from that. Original oncology meeting and our personal health commenced. This is what we call it, and we have names for things. Some I will share as we go along. Now for the treatment. This is where you come into play. This is where you all become part of someone else's story. My son fought for his life from 2013 to 2019, 7 long, agonizing years filled with pain and heartache. We traveled whenever necessary to get him to the best care possible. My husband's insurance was nothing short of a blessing, allowing us to seek treatment anywhere we needed to go, and for that I am eternally grateful. We began our journey at Children's in DC, where Trevor courageously endured 4 rounds of chemotherapy. Then we went to New York City for surgery because they had the Michael Jordan of surgeons, and after surgery, we transferred our care there. The chemotherapy was a mixed bag of hope and despair. While his main tumors, known as bulky, responded beautifully, the tumors on his bones, or the bone lesions, and the cancer in his bone marrow refused to budge. We were at a crossroads with renowned doctors offering conflicting advice. One wanted more chemo, one wanted MIBG therapy. Research became our lifeline. We spent days agonizing over what to do and would we turn the burned bridges if we went against a doctor that had cared for Trevor and gotten us this far. Well, we decided to enroll Trevor on an MIBG trial at CHOP, where he received liquid radiation infused into his veins. This trial, funded by the relentless efforts of parents and spearheaded by the extraordinary Dr. Moss, who has since raised a large amount of money not given to her by the government or big pharmaceutical companies like Pfizer, was our first beacon of hope. It marked a crucial turning point for us. We endured 2 grueling rounds of this treatment. During this time, we had to isolate our daughter from Trevor for 10 excruciating days each round to protect her from the radiation he emitted from his pores. It was incredibly painful to be at home, yet unable to be together as a family. We couldn't hold Trevor for more than a fleeting moment, and snuggling was out of the question due to the risk of exposure. During the actual treatment, we donned protective gear and wore devices to monitor our radiation exposure when we entered the room. Trevor was alone during the treatment, with us sleeping outside the door. When Trevor would finish each treatment, we would all have to discard his clothing and toys that had been in there with him due to the high levels of radiation they had been exposed to. We even donated his iPad to be kept at the hospital and used in this treatment room because we couldn't take it home with us. We had to carry a card with us in case he set off an alarm because of the amount of radiation his body was emitting. It was surreal and scary, yet it worked. Next, we navigated holdover chemotherapy until Trevor's body could recover from the previous treatments. It took a little over 3 months. We tried to get on 2 trials during this time period, but were turned down because the MIBG therapy had caused his liver enzymes to be extremely elevated. Trials do not like that. And if you don't fit the bill, then you don't make it on the trial. Then came the radiation. 7 days, once in the morning and once in the evening. Radiation given to his neck and abdomen. He was basically attached to a board where he could move an inch. Afterward, we embarked on another trial, this time funded by the unyielding efforts of parents, called immunotherapy. We dubbed it the human torture chamber. This treatment trained Trevor's white blood cells to combat the cancer, but it also attacked healthy nerve cells, causing excruciating pain. The treatment almost always targets nerve cells throughout the body, which they give pain meds to help. But Trevor had severe reactions to pain meds, leaving him to bear the pain with little to no grief. It was torture to watch and even more heartbreaking to hear. This is when he started to say, "Why do I have to do this, and why do I have to have cancer?" He endured this trial for nearly 3 years, and we dreaded it for all 3 years. But it ultimately made him no evidence of active disease. Trevor's response to this treatment was nothing short of miraculous. As far as I know, he is the only child to have been on it for this long. When Trevor began this treatment, it was still in the trial phase, and each time we started the treatment, the dosage would escalate, meaning they are finding success with it in higher doses. We were thrilled that it was working and working so well. Years after the treatment was over, Mark and I had the incredible opportunity to help make this trial available to others globally. We served on various panels, sharing our experience with the drug, including side effects, necessary medications Trevor had to take during and after treatment, and insights we wished we had known after the drug before starting it. We were asked countless questions, and it was an honor to contribute and help make it available to all kids fighting neuroblastoma. By the way, no evidence of active disease means Trevor still had a few spots left, but those spots remained unchanged for years and registered 0 on a PET scan, deeming them matured disease or non-cancerous. We eventually had them biopsied, and they were really just fragments that held the tumor together. So not neuroblastoma at all, but they still had GD2 cells, so they were still be picked up on the scan for neuroblastoma. We then embarked on yet another trial, again funded by the unyielding efforts of parents, called the vaccine trial. Essentially, it involved 7 shots over the course of a year to prevent the cancer from returning, much like vaccines prevent diseases like smallpox or chickenpox. This trial was still in its early stages and is now undergoing FDA review. The hope is that this shot can be given to children at birth to prevent neuroblastoma from occurring in a significant number of kids. And lastly, we joined yet another trial funded by dedicated parents, the DFMO trial. This involved taking 2 pills twice a day for 2 years, with dietary restrictions on certain foods. This trial targeted something called polyamines, which are found in the neuroblastoma cells. However, it also found in certain types of foods like chicken and beef, tomatoes, and oranges. By blocking the polyamines from helping the neuroblastoma cells grow, it effectively killed the cancer cells. So for 2 years, Trevor had to limit certain foods so the pills would attack cancer cells if there were any, instead of good particles in his body. How crazy, right? It's incredible that a doctor discovered this in a lab. It is originally used to fight malaria. But the even cooler thing, it is now FDA approved and is being considered for use in frontline treatment. Now, what you have noticed about the trials I mentioned, first and foremost, my son is alive today because of them. There is no denying that fact. Second, these trials are funded solely by parents, siblings, and friends of kids who have lost their lives to cancer. Know someone who has, or whose kids survived because of the trial, like us. Why are you all here? Maybe you know someone. Maybe you have a sister, a brother, a cousin, or a neighbor who is fighting, who fought and won, or who lost their battle. Regardless of the reason, the important thing is that you are here, and that means the world. But many talk the talk and don't walk the walk. Who watched the Super Bowl? Who saw the heart-warming commercial about the little boy with boxing gloves, fighting his way through treatment down the hall, to the bell, through the streets, and all the way home to his mom and dad? And Pfizer from their granddad at the end. That commercial was 1 minute and 5 seconds long. It cost $16 million. And guess what? They have done nothing for the pediatric cancer world. Absolutely nothing. They have not contributed to funding any new drugs to fight pediatric cancer. Sure, they have helped adult cancers, but not one for pediatric cancer. Not even one of the worst. But think about what $16 million could have done for research instead of an ad that lied and made everyone feel afraid. $16 million could have funded clinical trials that could save children's lives. $16 million could have provided hope to families not losing despair. $16 million could have made a difference for kids like my Trevor, who are fighting the battle in their lives. Instead, it was spent on a commercial that tugged at our hearts that there's nothing to change the reality for pediatric cancer patients. But you are here. You are raising funds for research that could lead to the next breakthrough drug. Just like this is dedication, your compassion, they mean everything. I hope you can see that. Up until 4 years ago, the drugs used to fight pediatric cancer were the same drugs approved 50 years ago. Think of how much has changed in 50 years. Some of your parents, probably most, weren't even born yet. But because of the relentless efforts of parents and people like you, we are starting to break that cycle. Did you know the survival rate for neuroblastoma has increased because of research and new drugs? It is now over 50%, depending on age and station, and some pushing 70%. Although they haven't said it was curable yet, I know we are getting closer and closer. But we can't stop here. Do we need to do more? Absolutely. We have a long way to go, and we need to keep pushing until no child dies from cancer. And when I say cancer, I mean all types of cancer, not just neuroblastoma. We must fight for every child, for every family, for a future where cancer is no longer a threat to our children, and it all starts with you. You are making a difference. Your efforts, your dedication, your compassion, they are the spark that ignites change. Together, we are creating a brighter future, one where no child has to suffer from this devastating disease. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for being a part of this story. Thank you for being someone I can proudly write about. Your dedication and compassion are truly remarkable. Thank you for caring enough to fight for change. Thank you for turning words into actions and making a real, lasting impact. Your support will give another child a chance at life, and for that, I am eternally grateful, and I know they will be too.